Mr. DJ Rose, Verteezy, and C's, welcome you to the No More Black Tears podcast.
Black tears that's heaven sent. Barack the first black president. I love my black skin. I love walking in black excellence. Black power, let's represent. All black, that's evident. I'm sure MLK and Malcolm X both didn't die for the hell of it. Strap your seatbelt, go and settle land. What makes you think that we would sell our land? We wouldn't sell our land. What makes you think that we would go ahead and try to sell out then? No more black tears, black on black kids. Love us as is, love with passion. Paying black bills, learning black skills, making black meals. Black is backing. Big shout out to Fred Hampton. I'm black and proud like I'm James Brown, but I ain't doing no acting. My people here from the motherland. This podcast now active.
Mr. DJ Rose, man, we back in the building. No More Black Tears podcast. We at the next stoplight, man. We out of traffic. Verteezy, what's popping, man?
Sure, what's up, y'all, man? We back.
C's to C's, what's going on?
Yo, what's good, people? Speaking of traffic, man, I don't know what's wrong with y'all on the road. Y'all can't signal, man. It's a up and down motion. Up and down. It takes 2 seconds. That's all you got to do.
So, yeah, man. So, it ain't all happening in a week, but everything's been going on this week, man. Lots of stuff going on, but, man, what we talking about first?
So, about a week ago, the Kobe Bryant documentary came out, Making a Legend. And, Rose, told me that he watched it and he thought it was very interesting. So then I proceeded to watch it. And we both came with the same conclusion. Kobe Bryant was so close to his family. But for some reason, as soon as he got engaged and started dating Vanessa, that relationship started deteriorating. And throughout the marriage, the relationship basically became non-existent to the point where his parents was not at his wedding. They was at the funeral, but they didn't even say a single word. And, a lot of reports are since his death, they haven't been taken care of, and RIP to his dad, Jelly Bryant. So, Rose, you wanted to basically talk about parents and their relationship with their kids once their kids start dating or getting married. So what's your thoughts first on what the documentary talked about Kobe and his parents and about relationships overall in terms of parents navigating that route?
Yeah, so watching the documentary, his family was really close. It was really close family. And he was really, really close with his dad. I think he was the only boy. He has some sisters, so he's the only boy, and he was really, really close to his dad. He loved his dad a lot. He wanted to be like his dad, wanted to be better than his dad. You know what I'm saying? Wanted to be the best. And then just watching it, and then once he met Vanessa, it's like it didn't really say that if his parents told him, oh, no, you shouldn't be with him. But I do remember back then there was reports of them telling him like, oh, no, she's not good for you, and that you should take your time. But he ended up marrying her real quick, and then their relationship pretty much split. Because I know, like in the first championship they won, his dad was there. He brought him in the locker room, and then the second championship, the iconic picture, Verteezy has this picture. Him in the showers and just ducked off by himself with the trophies, and people had to go look for him, and then they found him in there, and they kind of contribute that to his dad not being there, or the relationship with his dad not being as strong as it was or whatnot. And then for me, I just don't understand how you could be that close or family oriented. Or and even your parents, like, how can that just, after all those years of being close, something like that tear down that foundation? And I just wanted to talk about that because it's weird to me, because like, how, I just don't understand it. Like, if you was that deep in love with your dad and you was that deep in love with your son, how does it just fall off just because a decision adult made. He's an adult. He's not like he's a kid anymore. He's an adult. So it's like
So you contribute that more to the parents or more to Kobe?
to both of them. But as a parent, like you said your piece, and then you just gotta let it be.
Yeah, but if they continue to kind of pick at it and possibly like
No, I'm saying the parents said their piece, and then they should let it be.
yeah, but I'm saying like if the parents, because you like we saying both of them contributed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're in Kobe's shoes, let's say the parents.
No, I'm not talking about as Kobe's shoes. I'm just saying like the parents said their piece, and they should have been the bigger person to get over it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just say like,
okay,
their
then
lives, like
let him live his life. Still love him. Still.
So what you do if they continue to pick at it though?
As
like you're Kobe, that's your wife. They continue to pick at it, whether it's the right decision or wrong decision.
Once you've
already made this decision.
Once you get married, that's your family. You know what I'm saying? That's your immediate family now. So your immediate family comes first.
So that really answers your question from Kobe's perspective.
I'm not talking about from Kobe's perspective. I'm talking about the parents should have. I understand Kobe's perspective, but for the parents to let that linger on.
Okay, so then it's the parents' fault then.
I feel like it's the parents. They shouldn't have let that linger on.
Okay, yeah. Okay, cool. My bad. Okay, then, yeah. I mean, I think that's very simple in this situation. Like, if you'd already made a decision to make this your spouse, and you decide to pick at the relationship continuously, it gets to the point where you got to make a decision. Am I going to choose my wife and the family I'm finna create, or am I going to choose the family that I came from? And most people are going to choose the family that they're finna create because the love that you have for a spouse is different than the love you have for your parents. Like, you still love both parties, but it's just a different type of love. But I thought it was sad because I saw that throughout the documentary, how close he was with his dad. Because you talk about the championship he won in the NBA. When he won the high school championship, he went straight to the sideline, hugged his dad.
That was the first thing he did,
to the point where he gave his dad a replica of his NBA championship ring because they were so close. In fact, when he got drafted to the Lakers, he moved his family out to LA, and he was taking care of them to the point where his dad, he set it up where Adidas, it was Adidas, right?
Yeah.
They had to give his dad $150,000 a year,
yearly,
while he was part of the contract, because he just wanted to make sure they was straight and taken care of. Yeah, man. So before we dive any further, did you watch the documentary you sees?
I did not. So this will stump me. I want to say there's 3 Kobe documentaries. One of them's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, there's one on Netflix, one on HBO Max, and I think one on Prime.
And that's the conundrum.
But they all are different documentaries.
And that's the conundrum. I was like, damn, I want to watch this, but it's like this one's been out longer. Let me watch this first. So I was like, I did get the gist of it, and then just hearing about over the last couple of years Kobe's whole situation with his wife, Vanessa. So I mean, I didn't get a chance to watch that one in particular, but definitely some interesting things happen with that. And then Vanessa's she still hasn't really said anything about it. She did say something when her father-in-law passed away, but I mean, besides that, she hasn't come out and said oh well, they're talking with the kids and the grandkids and blah 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 blah. We're on good terms or we're not on good terms. It's nobody else. It's really nobody's business. But I mean, if she wanted to say it, it's kind of it's an unfortunate situation. But I mean, that's one of the things that happens. I would say nobody goes into a relationship with intentions of, hey, my family might not like you. But I mean, it's a time. It's a story old as time when people say you think of all the stories and books and movies where Romeo and Juliet and all this other, not fantasies, but just where the dad doesn't like the son-in-law or the daughter's boyfriend, or the mom doesn't like the son's choice of woman, and she doesn't like what she does.
But sometimes those reasons be bullshit, though.
I mean, and then it's situations okay, they're black, or hey, they're from America, or hey, she's not a traditional Indian girl, she's not a traditional African woman, blah blah blah. All this other bullshit, or oh, she's poor. So I mean, it's a number of reasons, and then it's are you really gonna let this shit, the bullshit, what you said majority of the time is bullshit. Are you really gonna let that dictate your future and your relationships? And then sometimes it's simply like, hey, I gotta pick what's best for me. I can love you from a distance. We ain't gotta see each other every day. We ain't gotta talk all the time. We ain't gotta see each other at Thanksgiving, but just know I do love you. We don't talk, but shit, still love.
I know when me and MGH talk about this the last couple of years, man, it's kind of unfortunate because men and women are so different in how we handle situations. A lot of times women be situations like this and they won't necessarily leave their spouse, but they'll allow their families to have a lot more influence on their relationships than they should. Whereas men are more like in this situation, men are more willing to be like, yo, I'll just cut my family off. Or I just won't deal with my family, or I'm just not gonna have my family around if they're not gonna approve of this relationship. Honestly, I feel like, your parents in general, you should just look in the mirror and be like, yo, we done raised our child, man or woman. Hopefully they make the best decision they can. And if they choose a spouse, we can try to, give them discernment. We can try to talk to them. But at the end of the day, I know we talked about this months ago when it comes to Travis Hunter and his mom, and Rose said, "Hey man, they might have told that nigga everything they could tell him." But at some point in time, you gotta let that nigga make his own mistake. And from that standpoint, you do gotta decide: do I want to lose my son, and then be here to pick up the pieces when this woman breaks his heart? Or, I could be wrong. The woman could be the one for him. Or do I want to potentially lose my son because I don't approve of his choice of a spouse? We see currently right now, I want to see what happens with Juju. My bad, not Juju. Jaden Daniels and his mama.
All right, let me stop. Let me cut you off. It's not confirmed, but somebody said they're fucking cousins. They know each other. They're friends. They're literally, they might be related.
I don't want to talk about Juju. I said her name by accident because I was thinking about Jaden.
Okay.
Nah. I just want to talk about the fact of how Jaden Daniels, even before the Juju incident, because people was tripping on that, because she's been protective of him while he was in college. They even did an interview last year, and they was joking about how Pat McAfee said, "Hey, does that rule still apply? Like no girls?" And she was like, "Yeah, girls is just nothing but trouble." And apparently Jaden doesn't even really date like that, from what him and his mom said. I'm interested to see how long that relationship will last, how long that will work. I want to know like what happens when one of these IG models or strippers come for Jaden. But maybe his relationship with his mom is strong enough where he respects his mom's opinion that much. And I feel like ideally that's what you want. Ideally, you will want your children to respect your opinion, but at the same time, you won't be overprotective of your children to the point where you give people a chance to enter their lives. Like, okay, this is the woman you like, son. Bring her over. Let's talk to her. This is the boy you like, girl. Bring him over. Let's talk. Like, you'll give them a chance to prove you wrong instead of just saying, oh, he lives on that side of town. No, you can't even talk to that nigga because he lives on that side of town. And on that side of town, we know what they be fucking doing all the time or whatever. Or she doesn't plan to go to college. Oh no, you can't even talk to her son because she doesn't plan to go to college, and you don't want to even hear. Maybe she thinks about going to a trucking school or becoming an engineer. I mean, an electrician or something. My bad, Rose. Seems like you want to say something.
Yeah, so it's like I know. I seen a situation the other day where it was a teenager, probably 17, but on a dating situation, and the girl is like pretty much caking him. You know what I'm saying? They both work, but it's 2025, and the rules still apply to hoes of all ages. So she was caking him out. He was giving her money, and then the mom was like, "Oh, I don't like this. I'm a freeze his Cash App card or whatnot. So he can't give her cash no more or whatnot. Send her cash out so what? Because she was mad about the amounts of money that he was sending her. But it's like he doesn't really have a relationship, I guess, with his dad. But he does have a dad. But I don't think that's the issue. But it's like the mom was like, okay, that. But then I bet if somebody else said that something to him, the mom would probably be mad because like you can be a helicopter mom or helicopter parent only for so long because a kid's go do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Especially when they're working, they're making their own money.
That's one of the questions I did have. Did he have a job?
Yeah.
So it was his money. He was
So
okay.
kind of sort of just like the Jaden Daniel kind of situation where his mom was,
because it's like it's his money, so you can't let him be stupid. Let him be stupid.
But I do think that's another part of this conversation is I saw a video similar to that, but it was way younger. It was like an 8-year-old boy.
Oh hell no!
And the boy came home and the girl was like, "Yeah, you need $2 to talk to me." And the mom wrote a note saying, "Ask your own parents for money." I do think for the women who are raising boys, I think that's important too. If you're teaching your sons at an early age, don't be a trick.
mm-hmm.
You know, don't be just a wallet for these women. And that's what I'm saying. I'm interested to see how Jaden Daniels and his mama is because they seem so close. She might have been putting him on game back since he was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't even seem like he has an issue bringing his mom on his shows, talking about it publicly. Like he's sitting with his mom and his mom saying this. So he probably is happy that his mom is telling him. He probably is like, yeah, I know there's hoes out here that's probably just want me for my money. And he understands that.
Mm-hmm.
Versus you cannot be the type of parent that you're not putting your son on game now that he's 18 or 19 and now that he's interested in women and pussy, now you want to tell him he can't be a trick. See, now it's too late now. It's too late now. That's some shit that you should have been kind of trying to school him way back in the day before he even really became too invested in girls. Just like if you got a daughter, it's certain things that you probably should have been teaching them when they was real young, not when they 21.
Yeah, it's not really real young. That should be part of the birds and the bees conversation. Like, don't be, and that goes for both women and men. I know I taught my kids that don't be out here just letting people borrow stuff from you. There ain't no borrowing nothing. You don't be doing people favors. Don't tell people your business. You listen and you don't give information. You listen to them, but you don't give none of your information. You know what I'm saying? You don't be letting people borrow money from you, or can I borrow this? No, don't fall for that. Don't do that. And also, like, don't be, you know what I'm saying? Don't be out here just giving all your money away to people that you like. You know what I'm saying? Don't be used and abused because that's all people want to do. And I just instilled that into their heads off around the times of birds and the bees, so maybe teenage years, and let them do it.
That's a good time to do it.
Because especially, and then
like you definitely got to do it before they start dating.
And then reinforce it after they graduate high school and before they move on and do different things out of the house. And reinforce it. Yeah, remember, like, so somebody asks you for some money, oh, nah, I ain't got it. You always play broke. You always play broke. And then you penny pitch. You never let somebody see your hand. You always have a poker face. You know what I'm saying? Because people are always out there to get you. And I also tell them, when you meet people, they are not your friends. I live by that. They are not your friends. You know what I'm saying? They are not your friends. You know what I'm saying? Until y'all do some dirt together and get away, ain't nobody said nothing, y'all are not friends. Now, y'all can learn to be friends and you can hang around them, but they are not your friends. You know what I'm saying? And people, and that's how I taught mine. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, I think that's real, man, because it just goes to this overall point of if you're teaching your kids this stuff at an early age, at a young age, teenage years, maybe before teenage years, just life lessons, and then you'll just continue to reinforce these lessons that you're teaching them, then as they become adults, it's easier for them to understand, you know, my dad taught me this, always have my own money when we go out. Don't just depend on a man. Or my mom taught me, yo, it's okay to do something nice for my girlfriend, but she shouldn't always be asking me to give her stuff or whatever. If you don't really teach your kids this stuff, then when they become adults, especially if they fall into the wrong types of relationships, there are plenty of people that think, as men, there are plenty of young men that feel like you taking care of your girlfriend, that's what you're supposed to do. She has to get her nails done, her hair did. That's what you're supposed to do. There's a lot of young men that think like that because they haven't been taught properly, whether by their father or their mother, they're going by what they see on TV, the rap music and stuff like that, or they're just being taken advantage of by a woman that they really are into. Just like there are women who are being taken advantage of by men because they like that man and they think these are the things they're supposed to do. So yeah, if you're a good parent, you're already kind of schooling your kids on this. So, if you're doing that, then you don't have to worry about your relationship with them most likely fracturing because they're probably not going to stray too far from what you taught them to the point where they'll be willing to hear your advice. But overall, though, the relationship between parents and children should never be broken because of a relationship. Because when you decide to get married and seriously date, that becomes your priority anyway, like you said, Rose. So at the end of the day, as the parents, you do got to look in the mirror and say, yo, even if we don't approve of this relationship, this is still our child. We still want a relationship with our child. They could potentially have kids together, which will be our grandchildren. So we're going to have to just suck our teeth and just deal with it and be as respectful as we can. Because one thing for sure, you can't disrespect someone's spouse. Like, you can't, I don't care who you are, friend, cousin, sister, brother,
So what if it's
mom,
disrespect?
dad.
What if it's disrespect from their end?
If your spouse disrespects your parents, then me personally, I feel like if your spouse disrespects anybody that's close to you, you should check that, man or woman. But man, I can't tell nobody how to conduct business in their household because, hey, some men are cool taking bullets from their wives. Some wives are cool taking bullets from their husband. Like there are some men that would be like, no, you're not gonna talk to my mama that kind of way because that's my mama at the end of the day. And they willing to have their wife be mad at them. And I salute those motherfuckers. But some people will be like, nah, man, I gotta live with her. I don't want to have to deal with that. But I feel like if the respect is coming from your spouse, man, hey, we just need to stand for what's right. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. If they wrong, just stand for what's right and just be like, yo, I love you, but you can't be doing that, man.
Yeah.
Because if my mom would disrespect you, believe me, I'll be quick to tell her you can't do that. And I've been in situations where I've done both, where I've had to tell parents, hey, you got to chill. And I've had to tell spouses, you need to shut the fuck up. But not everyone willing to do that. Sometimes people rather have peace in their home, and I'm not mad at them for that.
Yeah, it's a different situation for every situation, so different response for every situation. But like if the person is wrong, you should be able to have a conversation. It don't have to be like a check move, like hey, like and jumping them off. But a conversation needs to be had, and needs to be a conversation like, hey, I don't know the conversation. It depends on what happened. So you know what I'm saying.
Nah, for sure.
But a conversation, I feel like should be had either way.
Some type of correction.
Yeah, and it ain't got to be a correction. This is a conversation. Like, hey, like this happened. Like just a debriefing of it. Like, hey, and feel like you should be able to tell them if you felt like something wrong happened. You should be able to tell your spouse or your parents. Like, I feel like that was wrong of you, or you should have to apologize for your spouse or something like that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? The spouse, I probably wouldn't make the spouse apologize to my parents or whatnot. I probably would apologize for them. But if a situation,
I think that depends on your parents.
Yes,
like
depending on the situation.
How your parents are, because if your parents don't care, then you can do it yourself. Mm-hmm. Some parents, like I grew up in a household, you gotta apologize for your own faults.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like,
so I wouldn't even be able to do that.
Yeah, so it's like I can see that, like, hey, yeah, that sort of thing. But it's like some everybody makes mistakes, and so but if it's a mistake, everybody makes them. You know what I'm saying? And it's always now if you've seen what's going on and you didn't just hear from the grapevine, then you know what I'm saying. You might have to, hey, you know what I'm saying, step in like that. I think that should always happen. If you're at your in-laws' house or your spouse is at your parents' house or your girlfriend and something happens and the person that, you know what I'm saying, not the in-law, but the other person should be able to step in and be like, hey, we got to figure something out here. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah. But also, man, if y'all love each other, man, them apologizing to your parents should be an issue and vice versa. Like if everything's love between everyone at the end of the day, man, you apologizing to someone shouldn't even be nothing to your ego or your pride.
I mean, I think it really depends on what it is, because it's like if it's something deadly, like, oh, Sheila's husband is beating on her. Of course, you're gonna have issues. You know what I mean? Like the whole family. Shoot. The husband, who's the person who's doing abuse, family probably has issues with that shit happening. Like we ain't raised this MF like that. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's when it's deadly or something detrimental and abuse. I don't think anybody's wrong for calling it out, but it's like, yo, if you just gotta cut people off, it's vice versa. Sometimes I still stand on the point, like sometimes you just gotta cut people off, love them from a distance, and it's just like if you just genuinely don't like somebody or you don't like something about them, sometimes it's just like, hey.
Are we talking about abuse you see or abuse you hear about?
Either or. It could be either or.
I think those are two different things because your sister being made and getting slapped in front of you is a different type of correction than your sister coming to your house to chill one day and she got a black eye and she tried to say,
and what if it ain't the first time? What if it ain't the first time?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at.
And fourth. You know what I'm saying? But I'm saying you ain't just gonna call shit out the first time you see it. It's gonna be a pattern. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be hearsay. Like some people will be like, they're gonna let it sit, fester, and then find out it blows up.
As a parent,
I would think it would be the opposite. The first time I'm gonna say something, but if you continue to go back to that, like at the point, I can't do nothing.
No, I was gonna say on the flip side, you got some people gonna be like, "Hey, what the fuck is up with your eye? What happened? What the fuck happened?"
Rose was gonna say as a parent.
Yeah, as a parent, you should say something the first time you see something like that.
Yeah, and it's like, but yeah, I go back to like abuse
because if your kid continues to go back to that, Rose, at the end of the day, what you gonna do?
Nothing. You just gotta let them.
You only can do what you can do. Like you can talk to them, but like if a spouse is abusing them in front of your parent, like.
Now you can do something because it's in front of me. You can I can slap the shit out of that nigga now. But
you can take action.
It's like me, Uncle Bunky, and all these other things about to stop a mud hole in this motherfucker.
But if every time you let this nigga hit you upside the head, you back with this nigga the next day, man. Hey man, I ain't gonna lie, I'd had a homegirl tell me straight up, man. They was getting their ass beat in a relationship. The dad stepped to the nigga the first time, and then she kept going back to him. So the dad said straight up, "Don't ever talk to me about shit no more. I don't want to even hear about shit no more. If you gonna keep going back to the nigga, it's no point."
Like now you just make
only thing you could do is do it legal way. Say, oh, you keep going back, then I'm gonna send the police over there to do welfare checks on you. And I'm not gonna get involved anymore because you're gonna end up getting.
That's all you can do.
The other scenario.
And hopefully the police do their job and do what they supposed to do.
The other scenarios I had was like, okay, somebody's a hoe or somebody's a serial cheater. It's like, yo, why would you want to be with this type of person?
Man, don't want to be involved in that shit.
I'm just saying. These are the things that come up. It's like, yo, I'm telling you as a parent, why would you want to even involve yourself?
And I'm just saying,
drug addict or
don't get involved in that shit. I don't want to be part of that shit.
Yeah, like as a parent,
friend, cousin, whatever, sibling. I don't want to be involved in that shit.
I told you how I feel, but you grown, you're an adult making all
that's even worse. The first time you go back, then I'm just gonna let you go and just do what the fuck you doing, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much the sentiment. It's like people are adults, but if it's petty, let the shit go. Nobody should ever. And then like it's a lot of times like Kobe's situation. I can't speak on it because I don't know their relationship. How is the who's left because Bean died? How is Kobe's mom's relationship with the other two surviving children? I don't know.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Like maybe they might be suffering and not knowing their grandmother that well. You know what I mean? And they're younger. They were a lot younger than Gianni.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it. That's why I said at the beginning, like as a parent, you should be the bigger person and take that bullet. Like you said what you said, and you should be the bigger person and take that bullet and be able to let your child live their life and be there to support them. As long as nothing, like y'all said, nothing criminally is going on, nothing, they're not in danger, you should let them live their life. And if you feel like something is not right, you got to keep that to yourself because that's not your house.
Yeah, for sure, man. There's a lot of, tears and situations where kids stray away from their parents and the relationships deteriorate, man. So moving on to TNT, y'all.
Dynamite.
Boom.
So the first TNT this week is, legendary boxer George Foreman passed away, man. Won a gold medal, 2-time world champion. Was the oldest heavyweight to win the world championship. We all know him for the George Foreman grill. Yeah, man. Tears. He was 76 years old, man. He's a legend in the boxing community. He's part of that golden age of heavyweight boxing with him, Joe Frazier, Ken Norton, Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes at the tail end of that rivalry. Recently saw the George Foreman story like a year ago. It was very interesting to see why he left boxing because, he found religion and then he came back to save his church and he won the world title. And I think his story is just fascinating because when you learn his stories a lot of these fighters, people who just pick up combat sports, he was an overweight kid. He was poor, like dirt poor, and he used to get bullied. He used to always get kicked out of school for getting in fights. And he went to a reformatory school, and in the movie is Forrest Whitaker's his coach, and he learns how to box there, and then he ends up going to the Olympics, becoming world champion, man. So, he touched a lot of lives, man. And George Foreman would definitely, be missed with the impact he's had on the sports world and just, for African Americans all over, man. And I love seeing that going on YouTube, watching that fight between him and Muhammad Ali. That's just such a great match to watch at times.
Yeah, I have tears too, because without that George Foreman grill, man, it'd be a lot more fat people in the world. Yeah, so that George Foreman grill saved a lot of people's lives, man. He was one of the realest ones. Like he came out with that one, like that was an amazing a piece of equipment, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, shout out to all his Georges and his Georginas and all the little Georges all around the world, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got tears.
Yeah, I got tears, man. I mean, the Rumble in the Jungle, man. That's a classic. One of the most classic fights they ever had. It was in a country back in the day called Zaire, which is now DRC. So I mean, that's historical right there. And then like when I think of heavyweights, I literally think about George Foreman. He was like, to me, he's one of the first heavyweights I really paid attention to, and I've seen growing up. So, I mean, that whole history. And then like, am I tripping, or is this a butterfly effect? Wasn't he in Scooby Doo? Am I tripping?
What you mean? Was he in Scooby Doo?
Like, was he on some cartoon back in the day? I swear.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Somebody, man, I might be tripping. But yeah, and I mean,
you mean King of the Hill? You mean King of the Hill?
He was on a couple of cartoons back in the day.
He was on an episode of King of the Hill.
And then there was like the Monarchy commercials. Remember back in the yellow tire? Get your oil change or whatever. He did the Monarchy, got paid off for that. And then George Foreman grill. I remember we had one back in the day. That thing lasted like 10 years. So, I mean, they came with the first version, second version. So, I mean, it got through a lot of people, through a lot of cooking times. And, I mean, his legacy speaks for itself. One of the greatest heavyweights of all time. And a great businessman. He was one of the first athletes, I'd say, that really invested and it paid off very well. So, I mean, shout out to him, condolences to his family, man. But, hey, George Foreman, one of the greatest, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out to him, man. Moving on to other sports news, man. So, C's, what was some just news this week in sports that caught your eye?
Hurt, man. Juju. Hurt, dog. I'm hurt. Yeah, she played, man. She played very well. And then I seen the other game. They said they didn't even really need her like that to play because it was one of her teammates scored like 17 and they came out and win the game. Shout out to Norfolk State, football team, of course, but women's basketball, they did their thing. They played against Maryland. They were actually keeping up for a long time until the fourth quarter came. I want to say about 7 minutes into the fourth quarter, they ended up falling behind. But they definitely, I want to say her name was Diamond. Tough girl. Really a slugger, like, point guard, good guard. And it was a lot. It was a lot of good games, man. Like the upsets definitely blew my bracket up. So looking crazy. take your second chances. It's a good matchups. I'm not gonna say I'm really surprised by any of the upsets. It's more just like, damn, you fucked up my bracket more so. So I'm not surprised by any, but it's a lot of good matchups and games, man. We call it March Madness for a reason. Hey, I disrespected Calipari. He showed me I was wrong. Arkansas doing their thing. Florida currently, they're on the tap now. Alabama's beating the shit out of BYU. And then back to the women's, man. Still sticking with USC, South Carolina, because now that Juju's out. But it's a lot of good players. And then I'm trying to think, what's the player from fucking the Dodgers? I can't think of his name right now. But if it comes back to me, I'll get it. But he had a stomach virus and he lost 20 pounds. So crazy shit I just heard just off of some rumor mill shit, but crazy work.
Yeah, I ain't got no tears for none of the sports that's going on right now. It's sports, you know what I'm saying? It was Attica after all, you know what I'm saying, all along, you know what I'm saying? Juju, she slipped on son, and Danny's mom, she put that juju on her. So you got to be more careful. Got to be quicker than that. So also March Madness, like she said, you know what I'm saying, my bracket looking good, my second chance bracket looking good, but sports is sports, man. You know what I'm saying? I know this is not the we ain't trying to get too deep in. You know what I'm saying? It's TNT, but I think I ain't really had no tears for nothing that's going on. Other than I do have some. I don't have no tears about it, but it's not really a sports segment, but it's about sports with Stephen A. and LeBron, everything they got going on. It's like Stephen A. Man, just leave it alone. Man, you try to make yourself the superstar. Just leave it alone. I don't understand him sometimes. I don't understand Shannon sometimes either. But right now, I don't understand what Stephen A. is trying to do. What's the point of all of it? You know what I'm saying? I ain't got no tears for no sports right now.
Yeah, I do got tears for two things, man. First thing, tears of joy for the New York Giants, because whether it's Russell Wilson, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, if they still draft him, or whether it's Jameis Winston, it'll be the first time the New York Giants start a black quarterback week one in the NFL season, man. So that's what's up, man. We continue to make history in 2025.
They still had DeVito on the squad.
Did you see the meme with Jameson, bro?
And only the Giants would start that nigga and find a reason to start him.
Hey, did you see that meme with Jameson?
Yeah,
I remember they never had a black.
There was 53 touchdowns, 27 interceptions.
And I also have tears for Shedeur, man, because after the Russell Wilson signing, there was reports that he's probably not going to go to the Giants, and that if he doesn't go to the Giants or the Browns, there's a strong possibility he could fall into the late first round, which could be the best thing for him because there was projections of him going to the Steelers. But I just think it's so crazy that this man has played collegiate football for 4 years, 2 years at an HBCU, then went to Colorado, was able to finish a whole season. They didn't win that first year. But then the second year, they was on the bubble of the playoffs, and people just kept having all these questions that he kept proving people wrong. He won these awards in college. And yeah, do I think his arm strength is not the best? No, I don't think his arm talent is all that. But if I had a top 10 pick and I needed a quarterback and Cam Ward wasn't there, I would probably not have no worries taking Shedeur, man. He's done enough. And I'm be honest, in terms of some of the quarterbacks we've seen get drafted in the first round of the years from Bo Nix, I think he's a better prospect than Bo Nix. Because Bo Nix wasn't even accurate in college. Drake May went what, number 3 overall to the Patriots last year, or number 4? Drake May, he played in North Carolina. What did they do in North Carolina when he was there? I didn't even hear about Drake May until after the college football
bowl
season.
Games, that's it.
So I just feel like, when this time of the year comes, we always find a black quarterback and we decide to nitpick them too much. And Shedeur done enough where he deserves to be a top 10 quarterback drafted. So yeah, I definitely have tears for that. C's, you sent us this mashup, this new team up between DoorDash and Klarna.
Klarna.
Klarna?
Yeah.
Okay, Klarna. What's your thought?
So yeah, if you've ever heard of any of the buy now, pay later services, there's 3 of them. I can't think of the other one. Klarna is one of the big ones.
It used to be Quad Pay, but now it's Zip.
Zip Pay, Quad Pay, PayPal has a version of it. There's different forms of. We've gotten so down bad. Motherfuckers gonna be buy now, pay later for fucking McDonald's and Checkers and Wendy's. Like this shit shouldn't be allowed because it's not. It's never enough.
Remember we talked about that one time before when the whole she was like, I finally paid off my tacos.
Yeah, they was using Afterpay, I want to say.
And this is the accumulation of it. If you're gonna do that, at least do a crazy DoorDash. Do an Uber Eats where the shit's like $80.
But
If you're gonna do that,
that might be what it's designed for. Though,
I mean, I would do that, but nah, this shit was designed for somebody going fucking.
Yeah, I got $5 and the DoorDash costs 15 or 25, and I only got 7. I'm gonna get it, and like I can eat today and tomorrow. It's a recession.
You say that
eggs cost $5 a dozen.
You say that, then it's gonna be a motherfucking with.
Because remember, you can do DoorDash on groceries, so it's a good thing.
So
yeah, that too.
If they use it for that, I mean, shoot, we might see Instacart start doing that shit too now. People gonna have, hey, let me get toilet paper, some bananas, and a dozen of eggs. See,
with Zip and like I think another one is Affirm. Like with those, you have a card.
That's who it was. It was Affirm was the other one. That was the 3.
So it's like you have cards, so like you can buy in store, and you can, and also I think it's a good thing, man. I don't have an issue with that, but also the only thing I do have an issue is with when you're overdoing, like when you're strategized when you're doing it, I don't have an issue with it. That makes me have tears. But as far as the whole thing, I don't have no tears because sometimes people need it and it comes through. But if you have to do this like every purchase you get, then you shouldn't do it.
This is for the people that can't swipe no more because their credit's so bad. They can't afford to swipe. So now they're gonna be like, I'm gonna pay later. I'm gonna pay later. Next thing you know, this motherfucker got $55 from 3 months ago for McDonald's, and it builds up. So you shouldn't use it. When we say American consumerism, it's just like, yo, if you're gonna DoorDash some shit and pay it off, I would say maybe wait for like a date. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm gonna have this shorty come through. I'm gonna order some expensive ass whatever. I'm out of town, linking up with shorty. I'm gonna have this expensive ass meal sent to the hotel. You know, I can see some shit like that. You pay it off later. But nigga, McDonald's, you just running up a tab. It just show like buy some groceries. Like if it's you got the option, buy groceries. And I'm just saying, it just goes to show you, it links back to the tariffs. These companies would not do that shit if they didn't want the money. This is just corporate greed, and this is people falling into the trap of, hey, I can finagle the system, or I could pay it later. This is when you kick the ball down the field. You just deal with the shit later.
Yeah, I'm with Rose, man. I ain't got no tears because it's like, hey, man, you might have $125 in your account, and your DoorDash order might be $25, and they say you can only pay $7. You know what? I only want to pay $7 right now, man. I can afford to pay, in 2-3 weeks, man. Like I don't see no problem with it. For me personally, I wouldn't use it just for McDonald's. I probably would be like, man, I'm gonna go and rack up a bill, maybe do groceries like Rose was saying, or I might just order from a restaurant that I never would order from before, because that shit would come up to $50-$60, and now it's like, I'm only gonna pay $10 today, and I pay the other $10 next week or 2 weeks. So I ain't got no tears, man. Hey, man, if you fuck up, you fuck up, and I'm pretty sure they'll have repercussions for those people. Probably ban you from the app, and you won't be able to DoorDash no more. Moving on to some sad news. So these 2 twin brothers was found dead in Georgia. They was found in some mountains. The police tried to declare a suicide murder. Yeah, I got tears because, we've covered a couple incidents of Black people dying in the South, and the police have been quick to try to label them suicides. I mean, I think you sent me something a couple weeks ago, C's, about the young man in Valdosta who they tried to say there was a suicide. Now they got new evidence about that. More, they got to investigate these situations, man, because the family said the two young men didn't seem depressed. They both cared about each other and loved each other, and they was protective of each other. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Like some of these stories just don't make sense. I just want to have answers on what happened to these two young men. And this is a story that's not really being covered like that or being reported on a national scale. And part of the reason why is because these small towns be quick to try to rule it a suicide or whatever, so it doesn't get picked up by the national media. So that a year or two or sometimes 5 years from now, when they finally solve the case, yeah, it was a murder, but we kind of kept it hush hush, and because we need to know, was these two young men murdered, and were there any racial motivations behind it?
Yeah, I kind of I want to say I ain't got no tears, but I got tears. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't know exactly what happened, and for twin brothers to one kill one other and then kill themselves, that's no matter what it is, that's far fetched for me. Like, but that's just crazy to me. But I just wish we get some answers for them. And they were saying they was up in the mountains where they ain't nowhere near where they live, and they was about to go to Boston. Like, it's so much.
Yeah, the story just seems so concocted.
Yeah, so it's just so much to it. It's like I just hope they find some answers to the situation quickly because it's already lingered on for too long.
Yeah, I think it's another one of those stories where it's just quick to go to. They simply line it up as a suicide. That's the easy way to close case. That's the quickest way to close a case. You don't want to deal with it. It's foul play. It just seems fucking weird. Why the fuck would they go all the way to Georgia to do this shit? You know what I mean? Like, if you could just leave home and go somewhere and do it, why the fuck would you go to a whole nother state in some woods?
They're from Georgia.
No, I think they were from there, or they live in Boston or something.
No, they're from Georgia.
I think they was trying to go to Boston. They missed the train or a plane.
They was about to go to Boston the day after they were found, but they ended up being found just up North Georgia, but it was far away from where they live at.
Okay, I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was they were from Boston. They were visiting family.
They missed a plane or a train. I can't remember. They missed some type of transportation, and then that's why the story went weird because instead of them just going to a friend's house that was 30 minutes close to them, for some reason they was found in the mountains that they had never even visited before.
That's where I misread the story. I thought it was they were from Boston area visiting family in Georgia.
And no, they're from Georgia.
They were supposed to go back to, but they said they had family that was looking for them or whatever, supposed to be up there. But besides, regardless of the point, it's too easy for cops and departments to line it up as like, oh, we just gonna rule the suicide. Like there should be some leniency, not leniency, but like some guidelines to say like, hey, we don't know yet. Stop, just fucking tell the truth. Like, hey, we don't know. We're not making drawn conclusions yet. We think it might be this. We're not calling it this. We think it might be. So I mean, it's weird circumstances, and then the firefighter that got arrested for posting the pictures, that's crazy. I wondered did he report it before he posted the shit, so that's a whole nother issue. But
he probably felt some type of way because the pictures probably didn't align with the suicide theory.
Yeah, and then they probably trying to downplay that because could be a whole cover up. But tears for that. Rest in peace to those two young men.
Moving on to another situation that could have turned tragic very easily. There was three sisters. Was this in Texas? I want to say this was in Texas, y'all. But three sisters who basically their mom, because she was trying to teach them a lesson, cut off the Wi-Fi. They got mad. They all went in the kitchen, grabbed knives, chased the mom around the house to the point where they ran over the grandma who was trying to protect the mom. The grandma was not seriously hurt from what I read. They got outside, and I think neighbors might have called the police, and apparently there was people in the interview saying this is some normal behavior from these three girls. It's something they do very often. they act out, and they are disturbances to the community. All three are in juvenile detention centers right now. Yeah, man, this is just a sad situation. But I ain't got no tears though, man, because if you're not strict of your kids growing up, and if you let them just do what the fuck they want to do, at some point in time, man, you can't control them monsters, man. When they get to a certain age, you can't keep telling people yes, 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 and then you finally tell them no, and expect them to respect your no. They're gonna get mad. They're gonna be mad, and they're gonna react. Now, is there a chance that maybe the mom did not raise them this way? That's a strong possibility, because nothing's ever absolute. But a lot of times in situations like this, yeah, the parents was not doing what the fuck they were supposed to do as the kids was coming up, to the point where they raised some spoiled ass brats that became teenagers. They feel entitled, man. So, yo, you made your bed, you gotta sleep in it.
Yeah, I got tears for the mom because somebody should have been going to the hospital instead of going to the juvenile detention center, because you should have bust them hoes over the head with something. It's like they shouldn't have been able to chase you all around. One of them should have got clocked. It's something like you got stabbed in the back by two of them, but you'd have got one of them.
That's why you have guns, C's.
Oh no, I ain't saying all that.
Nah, this is why you beat that ass.
Yeah.
All three of
So
them
you
beat
gonna
that ass.
So they got knives. You just gonna start fist fighting them? They got knives on you, C's.
They would have been afraid to pick up a spoon around me. It'd be like they want to raise a fork or a plastic butter knife. They would have been afraid. So I mean, it just goes to show you, like, motherfuckers watch too much movies. This is some movie shit. There's literally gonna be a movie on Lifetime or Tubi in about less than a year. There's gonna be a movie where this shit happens. This is some shit that just people like now, this generation, even more so, we're seeing people react like that. And it's like, yo, you feel like you can't survive off the damn internet, or I didn't fix your dinner the right way. I'd be like, fuck it, go live outside, bitch. Little bitches, all y'all little.
Hey man, that internet's something serious, man.
Little shitheads,
during the
man.
storm, man, we was at Rose's house, man, and one of his kids looked at me and said, "I'm bored," and I was like, "We outside having a good time, man. What you talking about, man? The internet's something serious."
I mean, yeah, but it's never to the point where, like, yo, it's like when people say touch grass, you gotta have hobbies outside that shit, and then, like, if you feel like you can hurt somebody for some simple shit, it ain't like they touched you, they stole your money, they took your shit, or took your car keys, or nothing like that. I mean, even then, it's like people are too reactive. You got to stop that shit earlier on, man. I got tears for the mother and anybody else who got hurt, but at the end of the day, man, these people need help, and they're sick in the head. And hey, I'm just a proponent of beat that ass. I just say it.
Man, I don't know what's wrong with those three bitches. I don't know what's wrong with these hoes.
What's wrong with them?
I don't know what's wrong with how we view art in society nowadays. So, C's, Rose. A lot of times, we listen to music, we watch TV shows, we enjoy sports, and we watch movies. And I'm just considering all of that art for the sake of this conversation to make it simple. Do we ever really just, take the time to really think about, what we're consuming, what we're watching, what we're enjoying, and the participants of the art itself? So, like, you and me was having a conversation about Ant-Man, and you was talking about not wanting to support him potentially because of the stuff he's got going on. I asked a simple question. Are you supporting him by turning on an NBA game? Is that necessarily support? When you play an R. Kelly song, is that necessarily supporting him? And if so, is it even worth you depriving yourself of watching a great basketball game or listen to great music because you don't want to support this person? Like, do you have the ability to compartmentalize the artists themselves from the art that they're creating or have created, C's?
I will say this. I'm the type of person, I'm a flagship compartmentalization. Like I do that shit wholeheartedly, especially when it comes to like jobs and like work stuff. So I mean, you gotta be able to separate. Like you ain't gotta do it like where it's like, oh, when I come home, I don't talk about work. I don't do that. You ain't gotta be that deep. But when it comes to like the sport, this is where I'm gonna draw the line. Music is a little bit different than NBA because like NBA, who's really making the money in these sports leagues? Let's be honest. It's the owners, the commissioners, and all the sponsors. So if I was gonna not watch the NBA game, it would be a fuck you to Adam Silver and a fuck you to the sponsors. But me not watching the Timberwolves because Ant-Man did some shit, I could just say, hey, I don't want to fuck with the Timberwolves. Like, they're not playing the way I want to see them play, or such and such is the asshole. Or you could just say, like, hey, I don't like the way he plays, but if you're trying to, like, yo, I'm not going to watch that game, just say you don't care. That's simply just you saying, I don't fucking want to watch it.
Okay, so let's take it to music.
And then music is like...
everything R. Kelly got going, everything Diddy got going on, does that affect you listening to that music?
I'm not going to knock anybody who does do it, but it's like, it's not like they're making that much money. It's like, this the thing, this the one thing. You don't have to go around telling other people not to play it. All you gotta do, and all you should do, I feel like you should do, is just don't fucking listen to it. Don't fucking play it. That's it. It's simply that. It's that simple. Like, if somebody wants to go play a song, it's like, fuck it, whatever. And like, if you're gonna see, like, if you see a post where somebody's like, oh, y'all just want to act like this ain't one of the greatest people, despite what they say he did, he's one of the greatest artists, blah, blah, blah. Man, do the same shit everybody else does. Ignore, block, whatever. And then sometimes we got to be able to separate the art from the person, because it's like, you can say this person represents what they put out, but it's not like that all the time, because there's a bunch of assholes. Like the guy, here's a prime example. The guy who wrote Star Spangled Banner, they said he was a fucking, like, crack the whip cracker, had slaves, and was strong and that shit. His redemption was writing one of the national anthems. So that was his redemption was.
Really?
So
there's a whole verse to the Star Spangled Banner that talks about slaves, but they just cut it out.
Yeah, it was a bunch of bullshit if it was. But from what I heard, it was like it was either Star Spangled Banner or Amazing Grace. That matter of fact, that's what it was. Correction. It was Amazing Grace. They said the original, and that's one of the black national anthems.
Talking about white man made Amazing Grace.
Yeah, the original. That's a cover.
They are.
That shit have been covered so many times, and it's become a black national anthem to where it's like Amazing Grace is like can you separate the art? Sometimes the art represents more than the person. Yes, it's a lot of symbolism, but sometimes art is simply a medium, and this person, I'm not gonna say it doesn't have anything to do, but every time, 50, 70% of the time, it should not be a direct correlation. Like, hey, such and such is an asshole, a piece of shit human, and they created shit, so we're never gonna support what it's like. Hey, art is art sometimes. But we'll get back to that in a further point.
Yeah, man. For me personally, man, like I'll start off with sports. Like, me watching a team play, to me, I don't look at that as me supporting a particular player. Now, if I didn't want to support Ant-Man, which I have no issue with that nigga saying I don't want to take care of that baby. But if I felt strongly about it, I just want to buy that nigga shoes. But as far as me just saying I'm not going to watch a T-Wolves game because of that, he's not making no money for me really watching that game, to be honest. You know, now as far as when it comes to these individual artists like a R. Kelly, like a Diddy, man, the music has already been made. The artist has already been produced. I've already listened to the songs so many times over and over. I look at it the same way as movies. If I found a Denzel, like about Bill Cosby, for example, we know what he's been accused of and convicted of. Hey, I would still watch the Cosby Show if it comes on. I was just watching one of his old movies, A Piece of the Action. For those who know, with him and Sidney Poitier, it was a very hilarious movie. I had no qualms about it because when I'm watching the movie and I'm listening to the music, I'm not thinking about the little girl that R. Kelly peed on. I'm not thinking about P. Diddy beating Cassie ass, when I'm listening to some bad boy music, and I'm not thinking about the, what was it, 50-something bitches that said Bill Cosby drugged them and, you know, all worded down. I'm not thinking about that shit. I'm enjoying what is being going through my ears or what I'm seeing with my eyes right now. Like I can separate the two. Like that doesn't bother me at all. For those who choose not in the Doge in it, that's cool. You ain't gotta listen to R. Kelly. Like you ain't gotta listen to P. Diddy. Like the music's still busting. The music's still great. You ain't gotta watch the Cosby Show or none of Bill Cosby movies or old stand-ups and stuff like that. Them jokes are still cracking. Them, you know, the sitcom is still funny. The movies are still hilarious. Like, hey, I was watching Fat Albert Kenan Thompson just last year, and I still laughed at that. And that came from Bill Cosby's head. So, you know, none of that really bothers me in terms of just that part of compartmentalization when it comes to like, you know, these people who are making this art that we're enjoying, you know, and then us, you know, enjoying the art itself. I know me and Nicole and Rose was having a conversation about wrestling one night recently, and we was talking about Hulk Hogan. Like Hulk Hogan got a beer out. I'm not gonna buy the beer, but when I go on the Peacock Network and I watch old WWE matches, I just watched WrestleMania 18. For those who know, that's the WrestleMania where it's Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. That match still slapped, and it's 2025. And that was way back in the day. That match is like over 20-something years old. I have no qualms watching that racist piece of shit get rock bottom 3 times by The Rock and the people elbow and taking the 1, 2, 3 against the people's champ. That shit did not bother me at one point in time. But am I going to buy that nigga beer? Nah, I'm not going to put no money in that cracker pocket, though.
Yeah, man. I won't stop. I can't stop listening to R. Kelly, man. You know what I'm saying? I won't stop, but I can't stop. You know what I'm saying? Mr. DJ, play that song one more time. You know what I'm saying? And also, like, when it comes to when I was watching the video of him and Cassidy, it might be sick, but the only thing that was going through my head was like, whoop that trick, whoop that trick, whoop that trick, get him. But no, that was a sad video, but hey, man, it happens. You know what I'm saying? We don't know the ins and outs of their relationship. You don't know what she did to him behind the closed doors. You know what I'm saying?
She might have took a bat that had 100K, and that's what Juice Man said.
Yeah. So sometimes the reaction matches the action. You know what I'm saying?
What Newton said, man, every action has an opposite and equal reaction.
Yeah, man. So I don't care what people did because people still listen to Elvis and people still listen to all these other people.
Johnny Cash.
And they did some extremely crazy stuff too. So it's like I don't understand why it's just gotta be our people. You know what I'm saying? People voted for Donald Trump. Literally, more than one time.
Yeah.
But he's our president.
2 terms.
So it's like, but y'all mad at R. Kelly and P. Diddy? Come on, man. Y'all gotta.
They should change names. Really.
And like y'all.
P. Diddy.
Hey, man, R. Kelly try to tell you, man, my mind's telling me no, man, but your body's saying yes.
Yes, man.
He tried to tell you he had issues.
But he got all that from Aaron Hall.
If you believe Juice Man,
go lock that door. I know you're scared, but you ain't got to be afraid.
Wow. Yeah, that was a creepy ass song, nigga.
So, but I don't know, but I don't understand. Like they just want to pick and choose what they want to do or what they want to be mad at because like before all this Me Too and all this other stuff with Bill Cosby, like why y'all bothering Bill Cosby? Like one of the greatest people that to live this earth, and y'all want to bother him. And then y'all locked him up for all the days. He didn't get charged with anything. Well, he got found guilty. No, he didn't even charge him with anything. They couldn't charge him with something. He didn't forget.
Why is he still in jail? Is the question.
No, he's out. He's out
now.
He home chilling. Yeah,
oh shit.
They let him out talking about old age or something like that. But he out.
So yeah, because they couldn't charge him. But he was in jail for all those days.
Yeah.
So it was something that they couldn't charge him or something because he didn't even go to court. They didn't say he was not guilty. They just let him out because they're saying we can't pursue these charges anymore. So it's like, but but y'all kept him in jail for all those days. And it's like, y'all only do this to people
tarnish that man reputation too, legacy.
And then they
that look like us.
Yep.
So something I want to piggyback off of is like, we've said this before many a times. Everybody's fucking said it. Why the fuck do y'all wait so long? 30 years, 20 years, 10, 15. The statute of limitations don't even fucking matter at this point.
Green paper.
It's just the fucking matter of you.
Man, that money run out, man. That money run dry. Them lips to get to talking, man. And sometimes people come looking for a story and say, yo, we'll give you some money to say this happened.
And then it's just like, y'all want to be like, oh, well, every dog has its day type of bullshit people want to say. Like, oh, if you did dirt, whatever you did in the shadows is going to come to light. Well, it's like, you knew, you were there, you were a partaker, you witnessed this shit, and you ain't say nothing then.
And that's my main thing I have, or issue I have with all the entertainment people and industry people. Like, just last week, you was over there chilling. Everything was good. But now that, especially with Diddy, but now that he's like the only person that has something to say is the crazy person. Well, he might not be as crazy as people think, because the only person that has something good to say and talking out is Kanye. It's like everybody else is like hush mouth. Like, and all the people that he helped and everything, and also with Sean, we talked about this last year.
Whole ass nigga.
We talked about this last year. Like, he had nothing to say but good stuff about Diddy. The day he got locked up.
Yep. This nigga started singing like a canary.
Nigga held that shit. That was a grudge. That nigga held that shit in. It's like, nigga, I did 9 years. Fuck you. I'm gonna get mine, nigga. I'm gonna get mine. Fuck you.
But say that before you get locked up.
And I want to say, we got to stop letting these documentaries influence our mindsets of people. Because I just recently saw Ari Spears say he saw the Diddy documentary, The Making of a Monster, on Tubi, and he was like, yeah, Diddy's a monster for all that shit. And Vlad had to check this nigga and say, you know, most of them documentaries are skewed to one way or the other. And I'm like, come on, man. That's why I didn't really watch the R. Kelly shit like that. Because I already knew that shit was going to be just talking shit about the nigga.
I watched the Surviving R. Kelly, the one and the first one and the second one.
Yeah, I saw like one episode, probably half of one episode.
And it was interesting because it's like, yeah, some of the girls that was on there were 18, 17, 19. But and also the ones that were 17, their parents took them to R. Kelly and said, hey, make my child a star. Yo, she can live here with you.
And the crazy part is, it's like, y'all all wrong. So it's like, it ain't just him, it's everybody involved with the shit.
But like in Georgia, the legal age of consent is 16. So legally, a 16-year-old can legally consent to have sex with a 30-year-old or a 40-year-old. It's sick, but it's legal.
Surprising. That's the legal. The legal age in most states is between 16 and 17. Only like a handful of states that say 18. California is one of them states, but 18 is not like across the board.
And South Carolina is 15.
And exactly.
Nobody's defending R. Kelly. It's just simply stating the facts that
I am, man. Fuck them hoes. I've been saying that.
I'm not defending him. I'm not defending him, and I'm not crowning him. I'm simply saying like, hey, this shit looks Weird, and you want to pick and choose where you want to attack and where you want to apply shit. It's stupid.
If this was Tears No Tears, I would have tears for P. Diddy. I would have free Diddy, free Puffy. If it was Tears No Tears, I would have tears for Kels, free Kels. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Speaking for yourself, brother. Speaking for yourself.
I can only speak for myself.
Yeah, true.
I can only speak for myself. That's why I say if it was, I would have tears for them.
Yeah, me too, man.
Because all this stuff happened. Yes, it happened. But it wasn't against the law.
I agree.
And like it was some little kids that they were doing this stuff to.
At this moment, all we know about Diddy is that he freaky.
And we don't even know that.
That's all they saying is that. That's all they really kind of saying is that the nigga like is kind of freaky, bro. So he got arrested for being freaky. Like he like to have prostitutes. He like to use a whole bunch of baby oil, and he like to have orgies with men and women. Okay, cool, you freaky, bro. That's not a crime.
It just ain't got nothing to do. It ain't my business. You know what I mean?
All we know about R. Kelly is he like to fuck young women that are of legal age, depending on what state you're in.
Here's another example.
That's not a crime either.
Here's another example, big one. Harvey Weinstein. Yes, he may have presented the opportunities and shit, but it's like, it's gonna sound rough, but shit, y'all bitches did it. Y'all fucking did it. Y'all ain't have to, but you wanted a fucking movie role.
Man, so speaking of movies, man, I did want to touch on this aspect of compartmentalization. So what about art that may not necessarily agree with your values or things that you're not comfortable with, but the message being displayed is wonderful. So for example, we know Luther Vandross, well, it's speculated Luther Vandross is gay. Tevin Campbell is openly gay. Sam Smith is openly gay. But they make a lot of love songs that we may love, but technically they're singing to a man.
Like Frank Ocean.
Does that affect your ability to listen to a song, just like watching a movie that may have gay scenes in it? Does that affect your ability to watch it if it's a good movie and the movie's not about that?
I would be wrong if I said no, because for Frank Ocean's case, he had a lot of songs where, especially when that fucking mixtape, Nostalgia Ultra, one of my favorite mixtapes. I played that shit heavy in college. And then like there was one line in one of the songs where it was like suspect as fuck. Somebody pointed it out, and I'm just like, you're just back in the day, you ain't really listening like that. You're like, whatever. And then later on, all the shit makes sense, and you're like, oh well, fuck, this is what it is. But there's a lot of songs where it's like we had a conversation where it was like it's a lot of songs that are ambiguous. It's like it's just a love song. Nobody says like they're not saying boy, girl, man, woman. It's just a general love song. Sometimes the art is just the art, but if it's like
so when
I will say this,
Tevin Campbell made his songs in the 90s. If you would have known he was gay when he made them songs, would that have affected how you listen to them songs?
The time's definitely gonna affect because it's like the 90s. Let's be honest, niggas would have been like, hell no, dog.
See, it'd be different. I say if they was in the songs and they say, "Boy, I love you" or something like that, then it's like, come on, I probably wouldn't want to listen to that. But they don't really say, "Boy, I love you." They just most of the time
it's ambiguous. Like
either they don't say it, they just say, "I love you,"
Yeah.
or last time like with Tevin Campbell, I think he was talking. That song was written for Babyface, so he was talking to a girl.
Yeah, he was talking to women. I was just saying, if, for example, he was openly gay at the time, would that have affected it? You're saying the words matter more than who's singing it.
Yeah, for me, because listening to it, because when Biggie said, "You look so good, I'll suck in your daddy's dick," I was like, "Oh." I never recited those lyrics because I don't believe in that.
And that's plenty of people that love that lyric though.
Yeah, and they might want to suck on them.
Yeah, they might. I don't know.
But the thing about it is like, but when it's put it to it like that, it's like, I don't know, but I could probably still listen to the beat and still listen to it, but I'm not gonna be singing the verses.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different because I can listen to anything. I can listen to it if it sounds good and I feel it. I can listen to it. It's just the fact I'm not gonna be singing it out loud because words have meanings or words have power. So I'm not gonna be singing these lyrics.
Same thing with movies and TV shows.
Movies different. That's it. Visuals. I've seen a lot of movies and shows where they have gay characters and gay scenes. Like Spartacus came on Stars. It was a great show. There was one of the best characters on there, Strongest Warriors. The nigga from Barca. His name was like Barca. The nigga was supposed to be from like Carthage, but basically the nigga was one of the best gladiators they had, and this nigga was fucking some young boy, some young man, and that shit. Weird scenes that used to fucking throw you off. So I mean, but you've seen shows like HBO shows and Star shows where they got gay shit going on. So it's like you just fast forward to
a show like Oz. Could you not watch a show like Oz?
Now, hell no. Oz was one of the first ones that was like, oh, what the fuck? Come on, dog. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, it was really graphic. I never really
What about a show like Pause? It's not as graphic as that, but it follows gay characters.
And that's not the type of show I would watch.
What about like not Spring Valley, but P Valley?
P Valley.
That shit went off the deep end for me,
Like-
and I was like, why though?
Like I stopped watching it
Why?
after the second season, but it was a good show. I wish I probably could have seen the other seasons too, but I stopped watching after this.
If the storyline is good to me, man, I can see past the characters themselves and see the story being told.
So here's one like Showtime, Shameless. Ian's character who played
Ian's one of my favorite characters, and him being gay, to me, that just added to the storyline because it made his character more complex. Like stuff like that, I always find interesting when you see these characters that are gay, but they just sometimes the hardest character in the show.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
That makes the show more complex to me. Like so, yeah, something
like the Power, the boss, like the plug, he was gay.
Oh yeah. You talking about the first plug, Jimenez.
Yeah, like shit would have to be for me personally, just in terms of homosexual stuff. It would have to be graphic enough for me not to watch it. Like that movie Bros that me and Rose tried to watch a couple years ago. I was able to finish it, but that first 20 minutes was very hard to watch. It was way more graphic.
I couldn't. I was like, man, what is this? It came on. I didn't play it, but it came on. I was like, I couldn't finish it. I was like, oh man, what is this? I was like, nah, I'm straight on this.
Yeah. But that show Pose, for example, Pose doesn't really have no graphic scenes. Yes, you have men who make out every once in a while, but the story it tells a very interesting story about racism, about people who hate gay people, and the plight they go through, as well as it talks about family and people being kicked out of their households and having to create new families. So that's easy for me to watch. But something like Bros, where you're being overly graphic with it, I cannot really sit there and just watch it because it's too much going on.
I mean, then you got the shows like the Roman based. Like I watch a lot of historical shit like Spartacus, Rome. Like those older shows that are supposed to be back in like ancient times where they was doing some freaky shit, and then even like medieval. Like there was a show about Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci, this nigga went both ways, but he had some bitches and he had. So I mean, it's kind of like if it adds to the story, really ain't got no problem. It just can't be for me, it can't be the main focus of the shit.
Yeah, I don't really care about if it's the main focus, as long as, especially if it's now, if I know this is going to be like a gay show and it's going to be some explicit stuff, it's like I probably wouldn't want to watch it. But like my thing is, I don't understand why you could be watching a movie or you could be watching this show, and then all of a sudden they throw some gay stuff in there that had nothing to do with nothing. That
is
it's aggravating.
I don't care for that if it makes no sense. Like a movie like Moonlight, the character being gay, or us finding out the character is gay as the movie goes along, it makes sense. It's part of the storyline. But there are plenty of times you do watch a show or a movie. I was watching Supergirl back in the day, and they made one of the superheroes just trans for no reason. And it was like, why the fuck is she trans? Like, what the fuck?
It had nothing to do with anything.
How did this make the story better?
And then they just pop it up on you, like you've been watching the whole time, and it's like all of a sudden, like.
And what made it worse was one of the straight characters was dating the bitch, and they kissed, and then the next episode she was like, I got something to tell you, I'm trans. And the nigga was like, what? Now, luckily, he was an alien from a whole nother planet, so he didn't hit the bitch side of the head.
He was on some freaky shit anyway.
And it wasn't Rose, he ain't Donkey Kong, though.
Yeah.
You fucking a green motherfucker.
Yeah. So it's like, that's the only thing I have issues with when it comes to all that type of stuff. But I don't have issue with none of that because it's life.
I will draw the line.
And I do feel like that is a big part of the conversation. Like art, like you always say this, does art imitate life? Does life imitate art? And when we're watching these movies, when we're watching these TV shows, when we're listening to these music, a lot of this is stories that's being told to us, and you gotta expect this stuff because if you live in the real world, a lot of this is stuff you're gonna deal with in the real world.
Yeah. So I mean, two examples I got. One is a cartoon again. I think that's where I draw the line. Cartoons is like, can we just have a fucking story?
What kind of cartoon? We talking about cartoon for kids or cartoon for adults?
Both, nigga, because these new shits.
Because if it's Family Guy, bro, that's different.
These new shits, bro, like Steven Universe.
That's a kid cartoon. That should be no gay shit in a kid cartoon.
And then what was this shit where, like, somebody better match my freak? They lined it up and made it a meme where the bitch jumped into her vagina and she turned into, like, a superpower, like, Zord, giant Amazon bitch.
I don't know what the fuck you talking about, nigga.
Steven Universe, one of them crazy ass Cartoon Network shows, nigga. And then like, the Suspect shit with Adventure Time. Adventure Time, dope fucking
Yeah, there's
cartoon.
a lot of gay shit in that show.
There was like gay shit, and then it's like, okay, Young Justice. Why the fuck did Aqualad have to be gay? Why?
It's always been like that, man. That was suspect shit in Ren and Stimpy, bro.
There's it's Ren and Stimpy. That was comedy, man. It's comedy. It's a difference.
It was some gay ass shit in there. Looking
difference.
back as a grown ass man, it was some shit. I'm looking like, yeah, this is kind of gay, dog.
It's the difference between
this was some fuck shit.
If it's just like South Park. If it's funny shit, you laugh at it. But if it's
even Rocco's Modern World, bro, there's an episode where he's working for a sex hotline, but he didn't know it was a sex hotline. And then there's this man saying, "Keep talking," and he's talking, and you can basically hear the man coming. As a kid, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Now as an adult, it's like, yo, come on, bro, what the fuck is this? I mean,
it's crazy. It's where I draw the line. It's like you got adult cartoons, you got kids cartoons. If it's a kid cartoon, don't be trying to do the slide shit like Adventure Time did and all these other shows. Like, stop it. And then to end it off, I want to pose you with this. We talk about, can art be separated from life? Me and Vertizi had this conversation. I was like, all right, motherfuckers will say you should never stifle art. Adolf Hitler's book, Mein Kampf, is a banned book in a lot of fucking libraries. Same thing with Uncle Tom's Cabin. Like, when I remember when I was in high school, they started banning that book. So, because it had the N-word and because Hitler's book is his book, I'm not saying it shouldn't be made available. It's just, where do you draw the line? Is it's like, we're going to ban it because the subject matter or because it's a piece of shit or we look at the person as a piece of shit? It's like, nah. We need to get back to the place to where it's like, it's available, but just know, if you go get that book and you grab that, I want you to grab it for the right reasons. I want you to understand why this person's a piece of shit.
So to piggyback off of that, before we move to our last topic, Rose, you remember that movie Birth of a Nation? That's a movie we both like.
Mm-hmm. Nat Turner.
Do you know the original movie, right? The original movie was like in early 1900s. Mm-hmm. It was actually a movie made by the Klan. It's same title, just a whole different topic. Basically, it's just showing niggas being like, detrimental to society, and the Klan basically having to fight back for white supremacy and protect white virgins and stuff like that. That movie was played in the movie theater with, I forgot what president at the time, but who was the president in like 1910, 1915. That president saw the movie and thought the movie was so powerful that, he made it part of his campaign and stuff like that. So to just talk about what you're saying with the Hitler stuff like that being available, like, there's no issue with it. But when you try to publicize that and you try to push the message in that stuff, that's when it becomes an issue. So, like, none of this stuff is a problem with this. Let's say you come from a Christian household and somebody says, hey, we need to push witchcraft. Whether it's we come from a Baptist household, we're going to push homosexuality. Whether it's we're Black or we're Hispanic, we're going to push racism or whatever. None of that shit is an issue if you make it available. But when you try to make it something that is being pushed, that's when you're trying to use art to be destructive, and that's when it becomes a problem. But I'm not for censorship. I feel like everything should be viewed. Do I feel like stuff like that should have an age limit on it? Like, do I feel like someone who's 10 should be able to check out that piece of art by Hitler or watch the movie Birth of a Nation by the KKK? No. But when you hit a certain age where you can internalize it and you can understand what you're watching, what you're viewing, yeah, I have no issue with that, because now you're watching it from a different perspective, man. Like, I just recently watched The Last Klansman on Tubi like last year, and it was a great story just talking about how a white man infiltrated the KKK and the way they think and the way they ran the operation and why they did some of the stuff they did. So, speaking on racism and speaking on, the KKK, a lot of times as Black people, we try to find ourselves in this new day and age of, being Black and being proud, trying to be part of the movement. And there's a, famous scene from Belly with Nas where it's like, I'm attached to the movement, but I don't feel like I have to do everything at once. Cease, you posed a great question to me and Rose. How are we down for the movement today, and what counts as being pro-black and black empowerment?
All right, so we're just gonna start off heavy. Hit you with the bombs real quick. The heavy shit. You're gonna say what's the movement? It's basically the freedom of black people in the world, not just America. Where look at a country where are black people free. You could even say a random country in Africa where the majority of the country is black. They're not even free. They're still under colonial shit. So like being a former British colony, being a former French colony, being a former Portuguese colony, wherever, just name an African country, even in North Africa, they were a former colony of a British European power. So even they're not free. So I'm including them into it, even if the Arab descendants. I'm gonna just drop some heavy shit on you and just like, hey, we are talking about over 500 years of oppression from a standpoint of just several references of a bunch of bullshit. The Spanish Inquisition was in 1478. That was basically the Spanish establishment saying we are going to convert our Muslims and Jews. 1607, it was with Jamestown. That was the first American colony. The first child born in America was William Tucker. That was a black child. So this is in 1624. So I'll say it again. The first child born in the United States of America was a black child who was a slave. And then the Dutch, yes, the Netherlands, were the first people to bring slaves to America. So it's not just the French and the British and the fucking Spanish and the Portuguese. It was a couple other motherfuckers. It was Italians and Dutch and other people. The last known slave ship was 1860. Guess what happened a couple years later? 1865. The last slave ship in America was in 1860. And then what happened a couple years later? The Civil War kicked off. And then the official date for the end of the Civil War was 1865, but you know that shit stretches with Proclamation of Emancipation and Juneteenth. There's a history of that. We also have the Reconstruction era, so we weren't free then. We have Jim Crow, which lasted from like the early 1900s to mid 1960s. So I'm literally dropping bombs on you. If you want to talk about nation building and wealth building, we have the Noble Drew Ali, who was a precursor. The Moorish Temple Society was a precursor to the Nation of Islam. So if you really want to get deep with the Nation of Islam, look up the history. Founders Day. If I ask you, you talk about the Nation of Islam, and I ask you who is the founder, and you don't know, I'm going to stop talking to you. And then I'm going to say, hey, who taught the founder? And you don't know, I'm still going to stop talking to you. Liberia was a colony in 1822. It was basically a American colony for people going back to Africa. Jim Crow lasted from the 1870s to the mid 1960s. The black consumer market in the U.S. holds a significant amount of economic power. We are rated, so black people in America, there's no like specific shit. It could be Afro-Latinos included in this shit. I'm not sure about the statistics. $1.7 trillion fucking dollars. Yes, the niggas you know. Your mama, your daddy, your cousins, your friends, your family, the people you know. We are economic powerhouse. $1.7 trillion worth of buying power. And then we are now, I don't know if you know this, Bert. This is something for you to know. I wanted specifically you to know this one. The 2023 census has raised the black population to 14%. Remember all those talks we used to have where we was like, oh, we're only 12 and 13% of the population?
Yeah.
The shit went up in 2013. Or 2023.
Did we pass Hispanics?
2023. Yeah. I'll get back to you on that. But hey, there's that. And they're growing in numbers. And then we are 14% of the population, and we make up 32% of prisoners locked up in state and federal prisons. So basically, just to draw all this bombshell I just dropped on you is to bring it back. How compelled do you feel to do anything for the movement and just the state of black people? do you feel like anything you do or how you live your life affects this thing? Are you feel like you're in a state where it's like, hey, I am my ancestors' dream. I can live my life the way I want to live it. I can do what I want to do. I'm free. Racism doesn't matter. How do you feel about the modern
So for
era?
me personally, man, back when I was in college, man, I just remember I always loved Black history. I always used to go on my way to study Black history and research Black history, even when I was in like high school and middle school. But when I got in college, I remember listening to Lupe's Food and Liquor too. And that album was just so pro-Black, and it was just so defining. And I was getting into world history, and it just really kind of woke me up, or kind of like some people like to say, my third eye or whatever. And that kind of made me just really, really want to search out ways to help the community, whether it was being active, donating, or just learning more and more. So for me personally, there's things I do in the community from time to time, whether it's speaking at schools to young Black kids, whether it's doing stuff in the community of my church, whether it's finding programs online, where I can mentor or talk to African Americans, that's teenagers or younger. I know a couple years ago, me and MGH was in the Boy Scouts of America, and we actually had the ability to donate some money, and we was able to handpick some scouts, and we handpicked some African American scouts in the community that could not afford to have an Eagle dinner. Which, for those who don't know, when you become an Eagle Scout, you have a dinner or whatever, but it costs money or whatever. And we was able to donate to that. So, I try to educate myself daily, man. I go online. Rose always talks about the research you do, and when you hear me talking to people, I always say it's important to, go online, research, study your people, whether you watch documentaries, movies. And the fascinating thing, as much as I study, as much as I learn about our people, man, I'm finding out about more and more Black stories all the fucking time. Like, there's so much to our people's histories that you could study it for a whole lifetime and not know everything, because there's so much that we didn't learn in school. So yeah, like, to me, it's fascinating learning all the different Black stories, learning the trauma we went through, learning the triumphs we've had, learning how we overcame different situations, learning how, niggas in Detroit, they moved a certain way, but then niggas in Georgia moved a certain way, and then niggas in Mississippi had their own little culture. Like, everybody was not just unified. And it's even interesting to find out, like, yeah, back in the day, there was people who was part of the struggling movement. They was afraid to be part of the struggling movement. There was like the way today that we have Black people that feel like, I made it individually and I don't have to worry about a whole group of people. It was the same way in the 50s and 60s. There was Black people that was living just fine and did not feel like they owed it to their people to fight for a cause. And not as usually something happened to make them change their minds. Sometimes it didn't, man. I just saw a movie, Beacons of Defense, last year. And that movie was so eye-opening to me because, you and me talk about the Black Panther movie all the time, C's. Man, there was the Black Panthers before the Black Panthers. It's on Tubi, by the way, if y'all haven't seen it, if y'all do want to see it. It's on Tubi. It has the great Forrest Whitaker in it. But it just talks about how a lot of these Black men who was part of a church basically picked up guns and protected their community in Mississippi from the Klan, because the Klan was raping their women, the Klan was lynching their own people, and they got tired of being bullied, and they literally stood up not just to the Klan, they even stood up to the sheriff's office, because there was a white sheriff that raped a 13-year-old girl, and they was not gonna let that slide. And there's another movie with he voiced Mufasa in the movies. He just passed away last year.
Oh, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, James Earl Jones. It talked about how he was a civil rights leader of the church that Dr. King took over a few months before Dr. King took it over, though. And how he tried to basically do the same thing Dr. King did, but unfortunately, and this is the one thing we don't understand about the movement is not meant for people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's a young person thing. Him being an older man and him trying to teach this congregation, yo, we got to stop being afraid of Jim Crow. They would not listen to him. Then literally, they voted him out of the church. And less than a month later, Dr. King took over. And Dr. King was preaching the same stuff he was preaching. And we know how that turned out. But Dr. King at the time was, I think, 29 when he took over that church. So it just proves that, hey, man, when you're a young person, that's who's supposed to drive the movement. Yes, older people are behind the scenes navigating it, but older people are not supposed to necessarily be in the streets, being the lifeblood of the movement, man. So yeah, to me personally, man, I feel like I try to be connected as I can to it, and I try to do the things I can, whether it's doing things in the community, searching out programs, but definitely trying to educate myself as best as I can.
Yeah. See, you did a great job doing the history lesson, but you left out one thing. What's the Black movement?
And that's the thing. It's no definitive answer, because I could sit there and say, oh, we could talk about what Malcolm and Martin left off in America with the civil rights movement. But guess what? When Malcolm came back from Africa, guess what he was talking? He was talking to Patrice Lumumba, and from
to everyone.
And he was talking the same thing to Muslims. He became even deeper entrenched in Islam. Mm-hmm. So it's like he wasn't just talking to, as much as he was on the African side and the black side, he was just as much entrenched in the Islamic side of like, hey, Islam is the faith of, this is my faith and I'm reaching out. And it's the same thing with brother Martin Luther King. Like, he was literally, in a way, they was calling him I'll use these terms. I'm not saying this is what he was. This is what they called him. Excuse me. This is what they called him. They called him a fucking communist, a fucking commie. So it's like, as soon as he started talking about, which he already felt this way, there was people on his side that.
And the dude that I was talking about with James Earl Jones character was called Vernon Johns, by the way.
Was that the TED Talk, the doc from Netflix?
It was a made TV movie. It's on Netflix right now. It's The Road to Freedom, the Vernon Johns stories, the pastor before Dr. King took over in Alabama.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that whole movie, but basically, like, what? So many words is they called him. He started talking about poor people, just like Fred Hampton. The same thing happened with.
So what's the movement?
It is.
Tell the people what the movement is.
The state of, if you're black, where do you feel like your status is in the world? Not just in America.
What Rosé's asking, how do you define the movement today? Like, what is the movement? Like, what are we fighting for? So, like, what are we doing?
I'm giving you parameters. It's kind of up to you to where you feel like you fall in, and what do you care about?
See, that's the thing about it. Like, the movement,
and it's not just a singular movement. It's kind of like, what is like your.
See, when you put it, when you singleize it out, then it's not the movement. It's your prerogative. But I feel like the movement is like you said, you did hint at it, but then you went on with the history lesson about people being free. That's the movement.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's about black people having economic power.
Yes, about being
able to move as anyone else in this country can move.
Yes. That's the movement, and how can you, I guess, contribute to that? And from myself, I can only contribute to the people that I know, the community that I live in, by keeping it clean, teaching my kids to be productive citizens and not thugs or ninjas or young ninjas or just
crash outs
and whores and that sort of thing. And teach and when you see young people and they're in your presence and telling them like, hey, this is I see what you're doing, and talking to them. That's how I contribute to the movement. I'm not saying like being a mentor, but showing. Like, I went to the Georgia Southern homecoming game last year, and and young Gotti was he met me there and he was like, dog, man, you fresh. He said, man, you fresh. And I was like, yeah, man. He said, you don't usually dress like that. I was like, yeah, man. I had to
Come on,
come.
Yo Gotti the rapper?
Yeah, young Gotti, the rapper. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
young Gotti.
It's a difference. See, it's
Yeah.
just as famous. Young
Yeah.
guy, shout out to you.
Yeah. So he was like, man, you fresh. I was like, he said, you don't normally dress like that. I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, I had to step out today. You know what I'm saying? I had to come down here and show all the young brothers and sisters that, hey man, you can graduate from here and you can live good and you can shine just like me. You know what I'm saying? And every young person that came and sat by me, and I was sitting by myself, they was like, look, right there, cool, man, cool. And it's like, yeah. And they would talk to me. They would ask me, did you go here? You got some kids to go here? I was like, yeah, I went here, and my daughter goes here too. And they were just like, oh yeah, oh wow, and they would just talk to me, and I was just trying to push them to say, yeah, you could be great too. You know what I'm saying? How I contribute to the movement, I lead by example. So I conduct myself as if showing example of how people younger than me could be. I talk to young fathers and things like that, tell them about how I raised my kids. I don't tell them how I raised my kids, but how they ended up and how successful they are and things like that. And most young fathers, they be like, dog, that is so insightful. It's so exciting. Like I wish when I get to your age, I wish my kids could grow out to be just like yours and successful and things like that. And that's how I contribute to the movement. But as far as like some people like to donate to certain charities and things like that, I don't do that. I don't believe in donating to charities because I donate in my own house. I donate to my own charity. I got my own charity.
Yeah,
You
man.
know what I'm saying? So, but I just feel like leading by example, doing the right thing, being a strong black man and being a positive person and always speaking positive and living the best way that I know how to is how I contribute to the movement. You know what I'm saying? And if I used to be able to talk to younger people when I see them doing stuff in the streets or doing stuff that I didn't agree with or that people looking at them didn't agree with. But nowadays in 2025, it's hard to do that now because the YNs they'll shoot you over that. And like,
yeah, you be like, hey man, there's a lady in front of y'all. Put your pants up. What you say, nigga?
yeah, so some things you can't do like you used to do. But as far as in my neighborhood, if you come around there doing some crazy stuff, I'm gonna say something to you. I ain't gonna say nothing to you at the store or the corner store. But if you walking down my street and I see you, I'm gonna say something to you.
Yeah. So what's Scarface? You be on my block.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Now I agree with that, Rose, man. Like as far as donations, like me and MGH talk about this. Sometimes C's talk about it. Like sometimes people don't want to be on the front lines and stuff. So if you somebody that like, you know what, man, I don't want to really have to do all this other work. If you got the financial means, donate to certain organizations that you trust, that you feel like are going to use the money and allocate it to the, the resources and the people that need it and to the causes that actually could use the money. There's nothing wrong with that. There's always been people who donated to the movement. Maybe they didn't go to the protest, but they might have donated $5 here, $10 here. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I was talking about knowledge and education earlier. Like for those of us like me, Rose, and C's who like to read and study Black history and learn about Black history, man, when you get this information, don't keep it to yourself. Share with other people in your community, whether it's your kids, your family members, your friends, or coworkers. Educate them. I'm always doing that because sometimes we don't fully understand the scope of what people have been through, what our ancestors have been through, so we can have the freedoms we've had today. Like we don't like. So I was talking to MGH earlier about how bad lynchings were for Black people and the whitewashing that we've been taught about it. We don't even fully understand that. There were situations where moms would go to jails and take Black people out of the jails, and they would even beat up white sheriffs just to lynch Black people. Like that's important for us to understand how much of a cultural thing this was, back in the day. And if you got the time, if you can invest the time into the community, if you can go to your recreational parks, if you can be part of your the boys and men's club, the girls and women's club, and do stuff like that, obviously. But one thing that we always talk about on the pod, for example, is supporting Black businesses. And let me repeat, supporting Black businesses, not supporting Black hustles, supporting Black businesses that are actually helping the community. When the storm hit the city, there was a few Black businesses that was actually doing for the city. They was allowing people to stay in the shelter in. They was providing food. They was giving people the ability to charge their phones. So and there was some restaurants or some food trucks who was making food and grilling for people and stuff like that who needed the food and stuff like that. So you supporting Black businesses that are actually going to support the community, that's vital too. In terms of like trying to push the movement forward and make sure that we have that economic empowerment that we so surely need. But I know there was a question that you asked in our text message that you didn't ask verbally. You was asking, how is the movement different today than it was back in the day? And to me, I want to answer that question before you get a chance, Caesar. I'll let you kind of wrap that up. I feel like we was closer back in the day. I feel like what Rose was talking about, us having these young niggas and not feeling comfortable to kind of correct them at the store, maybe, that wasn't necessarily the case back in the day. Like we had a greater sense of community back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s as Black people. Like we loved one another. We looked at each other as brothers. I heard stories from my grandparents, and when you read some of these books, like people, they took it personally, man. Like when people in Georgia found out about a lynching in Mississippi, they cried, man. They cried. It hurt them. It hurt them as if that was their own family member. And sometimes, we hear about some of the police brutalities going to Black people today, and I'm gonna be real, man. And this is no disrespect. Either we're desensitized to it, or some of us don't give a fuck because it's not happening to someone that we know and we care about. And that was not necessarily the case back in the day. Like there was more of a sense of, yo, they just killed somebody in Georgia. We in Detroit, but that was a 14-year-old, woman they killed or a brother they killed, and it bothered Black people to a greater sense. When someone in their community was murdered, like if you was in Augusta, Georgia, and we found out that Charlie got lynched in the tree, it bothered the whole community to the point where the community was outraged. And if they all knew that it was Mr. Hanks at the warehouse at the hardware store who did it, they wouldn't even shop at that store, man. And a lot of Black people wouldn't even work at that store. Like Black people would quit their jobs to do that. Like when I watched the movie A Long Walk to Freedom with Whoopi Goldberg, like that just gave me a different perspective of the movement, because we don't even talk about the day-to-day workers who we talk about the bus boycotts, but we don't even think about the people who had to actually take that walk to work every day. We don't even talk about the people who was like, Rose, you got a car, and everyone in the neighborhood know you got a car, and you work from home, and they say, hey, yo, Mr. Rose, can we borrow your car so we can drive people to their jobs and stuff like that? There was Black people doing that, letting people drive their car they did not know personally, to take people they did not know personally to work and bring them back home. I don't even know if that could happen today, bro. Like I don't even know if Black people would even let you do something like that today, because we was fighting for something that was greater than ourselves. It was almost like when you play sports. Like, yo, I'm not worried about catching the pass on this play. I'm trying to help the team put the ball in the end zone because there's a purpose greater than myself. And I feel like a lot of us have missed that in the terms of there's something greater than me and just my household. Because we hear that a lot today from Black people. I'm worried about my household. That was not necessarily the case back in the day. It wasn't just about my household. It was about my community. It was about people that look like me, people that's from the same area as me, people that talk like me, and people that's going through the same thing. we took pride in, yo, you know C's is the manager of the Piggly Wigglies down there, right? That's the first black manager we've had in this city at that Piggly Wigglies. And black people was like, yo, we need to make sure we go down there and support that store because they're hiring one of us. These was things we took pride in as black people that we don't necessarily as a group take pride in no more.
Yeah, so I want to simply sum it up as this. A lot of times we look at like, oh, back in the day where it was this and it was that. We weren't there, so we can hear stories and we can have our living members tell us about it. But just how we have today, we had people that were wholehearted for the cause and down and doing, in the streets, in the trenches doing it. And you had people that were like, there's a lot of actors and entertainers that were just simply giving money. They were secretly sponsoring things. And if you say that's not helpful, fuck you.
That's just as important.
It's just as important. So I mean, like, it's not simply to say, it's like, hey, I just want to say to anybody who says,
to bring back to Bill Cosby, they said he paid for the PDA system that Dr. King talked to, man.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that, and then there's like other and then the movement wasn't just one person. It wasn't just the figurehead of the movement. There was a whole team behind these people. There was people walking with Martin Luther King with shotguns in their jackets. These people wearing trench coats. Kwame Ture was next up, but right behind. Stokely Carmichael was right behind. Young brother walking with Martin Luther King, and in the same circles as James Baldwin, prominent authors, Nina Simone. These are the same people. James Earl Jones, Jim Brown. These same people, these same celebrities.
Don't forget, Lena Horne, Ray Charles. They performed at the $1 Million March. People don't even talk about that.
And that's just America. And then we talk about, like, there was a communications between Africans. The IRA, Irish Republican Army, had dealings with the Black Panther movement. So, I mean, there's all these different movements, and it goes back to Marcus Garvey and even further.
And Rosa Parks worked with the Black Panther movement. People don't talk about that.
So there's that. And then it's like, there's so much things that go into it. It's not just, all right, I'll say this. I'm going to leave you with a statement. If you say you're free, nigga, are you really? Really, nigga, are you? Are you? Are you? Like, let's be real now. And that's just not just like, I'm not saying that just to black people. I'm saying that in people in general. Like, are we really free, or are we just feel like the illusion we have less restrictions than we used to have back in the day? We feel like we have restraint. We feel like we have less restraints. Like, are we really living a free life?
Nah, nigga, we in the Matrix.
I mean, there's that, and that's a whole nother topic.
Did Neo not teach you shit?
And that's a whole nother topic for another day. But I mean, the movement is it's not what are you willing to do, what are you compelled to do, what can you do? Because not everybody's gonna say like me. I don't feel like explaining shit to white people. I'm tired of that shit. Fuck that. I don't feel like we should like nigga, like I want my people, like my brother over here. I want you to know your history and know you to know what you want to do. This white dude over here, whatever. They don't even teach that shit in school. He don't fuck it. I don't care what he knows. But I mean, it simply goes to say, like, hey, we touched on a lot of strong points tonight, and it was a lot of heavy shit. This is probably one of our real heavy episodes. I appreciate you guys for sticking with us for so long. Shout out to the people at the table simply for bringing up these great topics. And we try to really do a lot of things to not just get you. We're trying to entertain you, but we're really trying to get you to think for yourself and form your own opinions and apply some shit to daily life. So I mean, I'll leave you with that, man. See you signing out.
Yeah, man. We as black people, man, we gotta be willing to learn our history and fight for our own rights, man. We talked about the election late last year, man. There's too many black people that died for the right to vote. There's too many black people that died so that white people could stop suppressing our right to vote once we got the right. And as I say black people, there's also white people that died so we could vote. Man, we can't just vote in these presidential elections every 4 years, man. We got representatives coming up. We got, Congress, we got the Senate, we got many different elections coming up. We had an election last year in Augusta, Georgia, 706 CSRA for the sheriff. And for those who didn't vote, we are seeing the effects of what having a new sheriff is doing to our community. So please vote in your local elections because it was a right that we did not have for so long, and it's a right that people died for, man. In the words of Ed Rakim, peace.
Yeah, man. Y'all can catch it at the next light, man. We in traffic, and I'm back quiet.
Mr. DJ Rose, Verkeezy, and C's, welcome you to the No More Black Tears podcast.
Black tears that's heaven sent. Barack the first black president. I love my black skin. I love walking in black excellence. Black power, let's represent. All black, that's evident. For sure, MLK and Malcolm X both didn't die for the hell of it. Strap your seatbelt, go and settle land. What makes you think that we would sell our land? We wouldn't sell our land. What makes you think that we would go ahead and try to sell out then? No more black tears, black on black kids. Love us as is, love with passion. Paying black bills, learning black skills, making black meals. Black is backing. Big shout out to Fred Hampton. I'm black and proud like I'm James Brown, but I ain't doing no acting. My people here from the motherland. This podcast now active.